Morris, what do these 14 tweets in 24 hours tell us about the president? Is he feeling vulnerable, or is this like a campaign, right, trail that he wants to talk to his base?
Well, he's got a lot of free time, obviously, if he's got that much time on his hand to do these tweets. The president has been steadfast, and the narrative has not changed. He won. You may not like the way he won the election, but he won. He's legitimate. He's looking for legitimacy. He gets upset when people question if he's a legitimate president. Those people can be his own staff. It can be the media, or it can be regular Americans. But this is a president that is, I would say, hung up on the notion that people feel that he's an illegitimate president. So that's one thing for sure that gets under his skin, and you see that every time you see the tweets.
Okay, this is a new line of attack against the FBI. Does it mean that we're closer to Robert Mueller finding out new things in the Russia investigation, or are we reading too much into it? I
think we're reading too much into it, and you can see that he's starting to feel the pressure by the way that he's bringing things together. He's, he's sort of confusing the issue by what happened in Florida, saying they should be spending more time on Florida as opposed to the FBI is an enormous agency. They can walk and chew gum at the same time. But what you see is a president that continues to be frustrated. He would like this thing to be over. This is a president that has never had a situation where people question him. He's always been the boss. So when he wanted to turn the page or change the channel or move into a different narrative, he's been able to do this. But when you're in an executive role, when you have checks and balances, this is what happens. And this is something he didn't prepare for.
Morris, how much do we know about what comes next in the Mueller investigation?
We know absolutely nothing. The only person that knows something is Mueller, and he's the only person that's not talking. Everyone else is running their mouths. And I always tell the Democrats, stop worrying about Donald Trump and start to relate with the business community and with the American people, because, frankly, they're looking for an alternative. If you're doing the same thing that Donald Trump is doing, then you're not offering up an alternative. So the only person that really knows what's going on is the special prosecutor.
Okay, do you care about the tweets? I mean, does it move the markets, or does it, at some point, does it move the markets, Andreas?
I'm not sure it does at this stage, and unless there is real action on Mueller's side, I don't think it will. Although I would say that, maybe he should be advised that there is something like one protest is too much. I don't think it's particularly helpful to his cause either.
Well, one thing about him is that he should just be focusing on his agenda.
Right.
I mean, this is the problem. He will have good legislative or good accomplishments. Then the next hour he'll go and get on the tweet storm. So he's stepping over his efforts to really show the American people that there's real leadership going on.
Okay, but we keep on, we keep on saying that the tweets is not presidential, but it must speak to someone, or does it not? Does it help with his base?
To me, it's not about whether it's presidential or not. It's the content of the tweets. I think that the tweets can be directed in a very different direction. Focusing on, look, the tax cuts, focusing on what he's trying to do legislatively, focus on what he's trying to do to fight ISIS. Instead, he's being, frankly, overwhelmed by circumstances. I think there's just a lot of pressure on him that he didn't anticipate, and that's why you see this type of reaction.
But does his base look at the tweets and say, yeah, you're right, Mr. President, this is unfair, and I will vote for you again next time?
I think that his base agrees with him, whether he tweets or not. And I think that look, you do politics, the way you win in politics is to do multiplication. You don't win by doing just addition. The only way that he gets back in the White House is those 5 key states. And if he can't expand his base in those 5 states, he can't get back. So what I would say is that no matter what Donald Trump says, his base is with him. He needs to really start to speak to a larger narrative and bring more people to him.